Good evening, Pratham. Okay, so I'm Rahul Saha, and today we'll be talking further about. Yeah, good evening, Samest. Saw your gaming ID. So, how are Diwali preparations going on? Crackerless this time. Okay. So, last time we had talked about the nervous system and its specific details regarding the cerebrum, the cerebellum. Okay, today we'll be continuing that discussion here. So I'll show you a second specific classification, okay, only for NEET. That one is only for NEET, the second classification of the nervous system, okay, and also tell you the specificities of cerebrospinal fluid, the CSF. So when we classify nervous system, I had explained to you the brain, like we have cerebrum, we have cerebellum, we have diencephalon, we have then the brainstem. That classification is one classification. That's this classification which I am going to tell you right now is only for NEET. Okay, won't be asked in your school level examination, but it's very important for NEET examination. So you can note it down. We can divide. Yeah. Good evening, Gayatri. I am just passing time. That's all. In Diwali, nothing I'm doing special. Okay. That is good that we are not burning crackers. It would cause too much pollution. Okay. I am also not burning. No problem. Okay. No cracker. No nothing. Just chilling out. That's all. So next is, so this classification is only for the NEET purpose. Okay. So make note of it. Only for NEET syllabus I'm telling you. We have that classification is very simple actually. It is forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, but the technical names may be a little bit complex. Okay. So the forebrain is known as prosencephalon. Okay. Prosencephalon. That is the forebrain. Okay. Encephalon means brain. Pros means the, you can say, forebrain. Then you have mesencephalon. Mes means mid. Again, encephalon means brain. So mesencephalon. That is your midbrain. Okay. Then we have rhombencephalon. Rhombencephalon is the true hindbrain. Okay. That is the classification, complete classification as per the NEET syllabus. And now we will have differentiation of classification, right? So prosencephalon gives rise to something known as, this side it will become telencephalon. Telencephalon. This will become cerebrum. Okay, this will become cerebrum. Okay. Next is mesencephalon. Okay. So after telencephalon, what you will get is diencephalon. Okay. You will get diencephalon from here only. And this will give rise to diencephalon, which I had put in the classification, which is the home examination classification. Mesencephalon will remain mesencephalon. Okay. That would further become the midbrain. Okay. The remaining is, you can also divide it into metencephalon. The second part of it will be metencephalon. Under metencephalon, what you will be getting is, you will be getting the cerebellum and pons. Very, very important. Cerebellum and pons. Okay. Then you have the rhombencephalon. Under rhomb, you will get myelencephalon. This will become myelencephalon. And myelencephalon will further become, you can say, medulla oblongata. Medulla oblongata. So this classification is only for NEET purpose, you can say. Okay. Whereas you can say this one I had told you already, I had explained to you already. This one I had given you, right? Cerebrum, then cerebellum, you have it here, then diencephalon, then you have the brainstem. Under brainstem, I had put midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. And under diencephalon, I had put the epithalamus, thalamus, and hypothalamus. So this one you already know. But how this differentiates into this one? Okay, this is the new concept for you. Only for comparative examination. Okay, this I am giving you so that you don't need to read anything extra for any competition examination. So this one is from MES you get MES again and MET. Okay, from PROS you get TEL, encephalon and diencephalon. Okay, MES MET here. Then from ROM encephalon you get mild encephalon. Okay, so this is the good evening Arya. So this is the classification that you need to know as per the specific classification. So Arya, are you a new student? Yes, I've seen you for the first time, I think, or first or second time. These three I know properly. Gayatri, Pratham, and Samesh. This is the classification as per the, you can say, competition level examination. It is quite easy, just know the naming. Okay, forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain, you might have studied before also. Okay, just that this how this becomes various tail and die, mes and met and myelencephalon. That is the core concept here. Okay, so any question in this concept, in this classification? Okay, so I'll tell you about the different things, the last bit of things like cerebrum we had talked about, diencephalon we will be talking about, cerebellum we had talked about. Okay, so in the last column, all the regions of the brain we'll talk about in detail, and then we'll switch to the neurons also. Okay, so now in the last class we had conversed about, you can say, cerebellum. Okay, so if we talk about now, the next would be the meninges I had told you about, right? So cerebrospinal fluid. Let's talk about cerebrospinal fluid. That question comes also. Cerebrospinal fluid. What is the role of cerebrospinal fluid? Like we all know that it is being produced, but what is the role? Number one role, if you remember, yes, in the last class I told you that the cerebrospinal fluid causes buoyancy. So our brain is of 1400 gram, 1.4 kg, but what we feel is only 50 gram, right? So causes buoyancy. You can write first point here. So these things can be asked in any examination, 1 mark question. Okay, 1400 gram is the real mass of the brain. Okay, but what you feel is apparent mass, what it becomes is only 50 gram. Okay, that is the first role of cerebrospinal fluid. The next role of cerebrospinal fluid is it cushions the delicate neural structures. Okay, provides mechanical support. That is again, it is like the Amazon package of the air packet. Just take a, you can say, polythene bag and fill it with water. So it becomes quite, you can say, rigid, right? It provides a lot of protection, a cushioning effect to the organs laying underneath it, right? Lying underneath that specific plastic bag. So it is like that. The, you can say, arachnoid matter and pia matter. Between these two, you will be having the cerebrospinal fluid, and that will be cushioning the delicate neural structures. Okay, cushioning the delicate neural structures. That is the second part of it. The third function, if you see, is transportation of nutrients, chemical messengers, and waste materials. All three. Transportation of nutrients, chemical messengers, that is the neurotransmitters, and also the wastes. Okay, the waste products are also transported out of the brain through the lymphatic system of the brain. So earlier, one more thing I'll tell you. Have you studied the lymph system? Have you studied lymph? I think you might have read lymph there in your cardiovascular blood and lymph system. So earlier, like 2 years ago, it was known that brain does not have its own lymphatic system. But now in research it has been shown that brain also contains its lymphatic system. That is known as the lymphatic system that is present in the brain. And lymphatic system is very, very essential because that will drain away the toxins. You might have learnt one of the functions of the lymphatic system is it takes out the toxins, right? So when it does take out the toxins, the brain develops a lot of toxins. It is one of the most highly metabolizing organs of the body. After the heart, the brain comes, right? So regarding the metabolism, so it will produce a lot of toxins, right? In Krebs cycle only I had shown you that part one of the Krebs cycle in the biotech class, that three carbon dioxide they come out, breaking the three pyruvate carbon and utilizing the energy in the you can say present in the pyruvate or pyruvic acid. So same way you will be having a lot of metabolic wastes that need to be transported out of the body, right? Okay, cerebrospinal fluid. Here it is, Gayatri. Here it is. You can note it down. Okay. So I was looking at the chat, so I had switched the window. Okay, so this is the function or the three major functions, Gayatri. Only these three will come in any examination. Okay, no other function will be asked in NEET examination also. Okay, more than this, nothing will be asked. Okay, so these are the three functions of the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so very, very important this is. Now, the formation and circulation of CSF. Okay, what happens is it is not directly given in your syllabus, so I'll just give you a brief intro. Okay, no need to note it down. Okay, since it is not a part of the NEET course also, but as a biologist, you may be anxious to know or curious to know it. So I'm just telling you that what happens is within each ventricle, the ventricles which I had shown you, within each ventricle, what happens is there is a network of membranes. That membrane network is known as choroid plexus. Okay, no need to note it down. Just listen to it so that you don't think that it is produced by some specific, you can say, by God's grace. There is a specific membranous network within each ventricle, okay, that is known as the choroid plexus. Okay, it is the area within each ventricle that produces CSF. There are specific cells, okay, specific neuroglial cells which are in your course. One of the neuroglial cells is known as ependymal cells. Okay, what they do is they bear microvilli and they seal the entire capillary surrounding the choroid plexus. Okay, and that forms the blood CSF barrier. Okay, that forms the blood CSF barrier and keeps the CSF in the brain only. Meaning that what happens is, suppose this is the capillary. Okay, just imagine this is the capillary. Okay, but capillaries are not like this. You have to draw it cell wise. Okay, understand it. There will be endothelial cells like this. Okay. So sometimes there may be gap between the two endothelial cells. Thereby what will happen is, just understand this concept clearly. Okay, people they ask about blood-brain barrier in the competitive examination, and still people, many students have no clue regarding what is blood-brain barrier, blood CSF barrier, okay, blood-brain barrier. Blood-brain barrier, why is it a barrier? Why it is needed? You cannot let anything present in the blood reach the brain because the brain is the most delicate organ of them all. If the blood contains some kind of bacteria or some kind of toxins, if that blood goes directly into the brain without getting any kind of purification, filtration, or any kind of checking, what will happen is the brain may get inflammation. Inflammation means dysfunction. Brain may be inflamed. Brain, and if something happens in the brain, think of the ramifications that can happen. If something happened in the cerebrum, you may not be able to recall things. Something happened in the cerebellum, you may not be able to move your muscles. And multiple functions, you may not be able to taste, you may not be able to smell, just like what is happening in SARS-CoV-2 infection you might be seeing, right? So the thing is, multiple manifestations could occur. That is why what happens is, when the blood travels, it can leak out from here. Okay, these are known as fenestrated capillaries. Okay, so what happens is, fenestrations means small pores in the capillaries from where something can be leaked out. Just like in kidneys, I had shown you, we have fenestrated capillaries. There are three types of capillaries mainly. Okay, you have continuous capillaries, where there is no pore fenestrated, and where there are huge pores known as sinusoid capillaries present in the liver. Okay, so many fenestrated capillaries are there. What ependymal cells do is, they cover it like this. They'll cover it like this properly and seal it. There will be various proteins like cadherins, integrins, cell adhesion proteins. They'll seal it tightly. That is known as forming a tight junction. Okay, tight junction. And the microvilli present in the ependymal cell. Microvilli are what? They are nothing but cellular processes. Suppose this is the plasma membrane, it became invaginated like this. So this is the microvilli. Okay. So this is present in our small intestine also. So the thing is, this ependymal cell, which is a type of neuroglia, I'll tell you what neuroglia is in a minute, or in few minutes, when I'll be talking about specific neuroglia only, or they are known as glial cells. So these cells, they seal the capillaries so that nothing can leak out and nothing can come in from the body within the capillary. Okay, so this protects the brain completely. Okay, only what happens is, the plasma membrane, because these are made up of cells, these are endothelial cells, right? Type of epithelial cells only. So this ependymal cell is also a cell. So the plasma membrane of these cells is lipid, right? Lipid bilayer, phosphatidylcholine, choline, ethylamine, serine, multiple types of lipids are present. So what happens is, only lipid soluble drugs and compounds, keep in mind, lipid soluble drugs and compounds. That's why alcohol can reach the brain easily. That's why you get the delirium after you take a lot of alcohol, that feeling of getting high, right? The feeling of reaching some kind of euphoric stage after you have overdrunk yourself. Alcohol can reach the brain, carbon dioxide can reach the brain, okay? And lipid soluble drugs, like if your brain has got any kind of infection, like meningitis or brain TB and all, so then we need lipid soluble antibiotics, that those drugs can be transported inside the brain, because they can directly come through the plasma membrane, because it is lipid soluble. So like they can come through, but proteins, they cannot cross the blood-brain barrier just like that. You need specific receptors. Glucose, the primary fuel for brain, I told you that you will be having GLUT3 always expressed on the brain cells, on the neurons, then the glucose will be transported inside. Okay, that is how the glucose comes inside the capillaries, and then these capillaries will be containing glucose, and they will be directly providing glucose to each and every neuron inside the brain. So this is known as a blood-brain barrier. Same way you have blood CSF barrier also. The CSF should not leak out. So again, the choroid plexus is surrounded by, again, these ependymal cells, okay, and tightly surrounded, so that the entire CSF stays in the brain only. Okay, it interconnects the tight junctions and it surround the capillaries of the choroid plexus, which secrete and carry the CSF. Okay, that is very very important. Blood brain barrier, triple B, okay, and blood CSF barrier, both are same stuff. Okay, the mechanism is same, to prevent the leakage of CSF outside the brain, and to prevent any content of blood which is present in the body, or the blood of the body, without any kind of, you can say, checking, it doesn't let it enter the brain. Okay, if there are specific transporters, only those proteins can come in. Okay, That is known as blood-brain barrier and blood CSF barrier. Okay, that is the very, very important stuff. Now tell me, do you have any doubt regarding blood-brain barrier or blood CSF barrier? And what is the main significance? And what happens in case of, you might have heard of brain hemorrhage or brain stroke known as cerebrovascular accident. It could be due to a clot or direct hemorrhage of the complete carotid artery. So in these cases, what happens is the blood-brain barrier is also compromised. The brain gets a lot of, then it becomes the recipient of the toxins which are present in the blood, and that further harms, further deteriorates the neurons in the brain and further causes, you can say, manifestation of various symptoms like paralysis and tremors, seizures, convulsions, epilepsy. It can cause multiple things, right? Loss of memory, cognitive decline, loss of eyesight, loss of hearing problem, right? Loss of hearing or hearing impairment, you can say. Multiple things can happen. So that is how it happens. Okay, the blood-brain barrier is compromised after an event surrounding the or regarding or concerning your brain or encephalon. Okay, so what happens is sometimes due to high blood pressure, medical condition I'm telling, due to high blood pressure, what happens is high blood pressure or diabetes, the pressure in the coronary artery will be too high. That may lead to, you can say, the coronary artery to burst, directly burst. Okay, that will cause brain hemorrhage. That is known as hemorrhagic stroke. Okay, hemorrhagic stroke. So if it has hemorrhaged in the arachnoid space only, so blood can fill in the arachnoid space, or you can say subarachnoid space between the arachnoid matter and the pia matter. But if the hemorrhage has happened inside the brain, then the blood would pool inside the brain itself. That is a worse hemorrhage. Okay, one way you have is you have the hemorrhage within the subarachnoid space, so where the cerebrospinal fluid is there, you have blood accumulation. Still, patient can be saved. But if after the capillaries have reached the inside of the brain, there the capillaries have got completely burst or hemorrhage has occurred, leakage has occurred, then the blood will pool inside the brain, and then the brain tissue or the brain cells, neurons cannot get oxygen, and clot will form. And without oxygen, what you have is something known as hypoxia, less oxygen. Without oxygen, ATP cannot be produced. Without ATP, the neurons will start dying within 2 to 3 minutes of non-suppliance of oxygen. Will kill the neurons, and once neurons are dead, they are dead. They stay dead, right? You cannot cause the remaining neurons which are living to again proliferate. They are arrested in the cell cycle events, right? In the cell cycle, you can say checkpoints, they are arrested. So they are arrested, and thus they cannot come out of it, and then the neurons, whatever concerning neurons you had, whether they were controlling this function or that function or any specific organ, you may have paralysis, hemiparalysis, quadriplegic, all the four limbs, okay, depending on that, or loss of memory, cognitive decline, hearing impairment, visual impairment, right? Then speech impairment, you cannot talk properly, you will keep on stuttering, and the tongue will not help you to make any kind of proper, you can say, noise, or voice will not be able to come out in a proper way that anyone will be able to comprehend. So those things will happen. And if you have high cholesterol, the cholesterol deposition can happen, and then the clot can start, and then the clot can occlude. Once the clot is produced from the plaque gets broken down, then the clot can occlude the blood flow, just like the myocardial infarction. That is known as ischemic attack. Ischemic means clot. Here, clot formation happened within the capillary artery. The artery or the capillary has not been hemorrhaged, okay, but the brain is not getting oxygen because it has been blocked due to the clot. Again, manifestations could be the same. Okay, you may be having neuron death and all. So neurons, what they do is, some neurons are arrested in the at the G0 stage of the cell cycle, some are arrested at the G2 stage. Okay, that neurons, one thing I'll tell you, you will never find centrioles in a neuron. Okay, they do not have centrioles, absent. Without centrioles, you will not have kinetochore microtubules, and then how will you divide the cell? Right? You cannot go for cell division without centrioles. Okay, so but there are exceptions to this. Neurons present in the hippocampus region of the brain, specific region hippocampus and olfactory bulb. These neurons can divide. Only these two residing or the neurons that reside at these two specific locations in the brain can divide. Okay, they have, we can say, progenitor neurons, right? Progenitor cells, type of stem cells. Okay, and they can divide. So there are multiple factors also, means proteins responsible. We have brain derived neurotrophic factor. Okay, multiple, you can say, proteins are there which can cause the differentiation of the neuron. The research is going on, but what has been found is only these two regions can cause neurons to divide. Other regions, they cannot cause a division of the neurons. So once the neurons are dead, they cannot be replaced, right? They cannot be replaced at any cost. That is the fundamental thing behind neuronal structure and neuronal function. Okay, so any doubt regarding this? Okay, technically, medically, the brain stroke, okay, is known as cerebrovascular accident, because cerebro means brain, vascular means blood flow, accident means an event. Cerebrovascular accident, it could be of two types. Ischemic means the one I told you, clot will be produced just like the heart attack. Blood occlusion, okay, blood blocked. Or hemorrhagic, directly the artery has or the capillary has shown or it has got burst, there has been leakage. Okay. Hemorrhagic. So these are the brain events that can happen due to mainly two things: hypertension, diabetes. These are the two main causes. Okay. Then toxicity, then some medicines later on, they'll be also responsible, but these two things are first checked. Mostly hypertension and diabetic patients, they are extremely susceptible to these kinds of events later in life, after the age of 40. Okay, sometimes after the age of 60 also. Okay, so any doubt regarding this one? Any queries regarding this entire thing, how brain can be damaged, medical connection? Okay, and what you can do? Can you tell me if the brain clot has been found? Okay, suppose some of your relative only, or you are a doctor, a patient has come, he is showing that brain death has occurred or clotting has occurred. So what will you do, Gayatri and Samesh? Pratham, what will you do? What kind of treatment will you begin with? Like if you become a doctor, what will you do? What kind of treatment? I'm not asking you to tell me the name of the medicine. What will be your, you can say, first line of action conceptually? Because blood has got clot. Okay, in both the cases there is clotting. There is excessive clotting in hemorrhage because blood has been able to leak out, but there is clotting in case of ischemic stroke also. So now tell me what will be your course of action regarding the treatment of this kind of patient. What can you do? Don't tell me the name of the medicine, but just what can you do, that's all. So can you give him anti-clotting medicine? Right? So anticoagulants can be given. Number one anticoagulant I think you might have heard of is heparin. Okay. So heparin can be administered. Heparin is nothing but it is not a protein, it is hypersulfated form of heparin sulfate. Heparin sulfate is a glycosaminoglycan. I'll tell you this in the doubt class. Okay, explain to you this thing in the doubt class. But what we do is we do not give direct heparin. Okay, we have produced low molecular weight heparin. Okay, low molecular weight heparin, LMWH, also known as enoxaparin. Okay, so that is given to the patient, that is administered. Along with that, what you can do is, in clotting cascade, if you have learned clotting cascade, clot has occurred means fibrin formation has occurred. Now how to break this fibrin? Plasmin can break it, right? And plasmin is inactive in this state, plasminogen. Okay, so we have something known as, you can say, the drugs which can convert plasminogen to plasmin. Those drugs are very new class of drugs. Those are known as streptokinase, then urokinase, okay, then alteplase. So these kinds of drugs are given. They are very, very costly drugs, much costlier than heparin, which will convert plasminogen to plasmin. Okay, tissue plasminogen activator. There is a specific term for that. Tissue plasminogen activator is the protein present in our body which converts plasminogen to plasmin. It mimics the role of TPA, tissue plasminogen activator, activates plasminogen to become plasmin. Then this will degrade this fibrin and clot will be degraded, clot will be cleared out. So this is the course of action. And the thing that is the most significant here is how quickly the patient has been taken to the ICU facility. And the quicker he has been administered these high class drugs, the quicker will be his, or more his chances will be of recovery, right? And the more the delay, the, you can say, deteriorated will be his chances of further recovery down the lane. That will be the thing. And if you, there I'm giving you a tip here. Okay, God forbid, if you see something like this in your family at any point of time happening to anyone, if he has extreme headache, okay, if he is finding the things dizzy at one go, okay, and if he is showing some kind of movement on the face, like this and that movement is showing, is not able to open or close one of his eyes, means he is just on the verge of suffering an ischemic, or you can say hemorrhagic stroke or cerebrovascular accident. These are the main, you can say, symptoms. Or he is not getting power in one of his limbs. Okay, those kinds of things. That all of a sudden it has happened. So what you can do is, every one of you must keep Disprin with you. Disprin contains aspirin. Aspirin means N-acetyl salicylic acid. So this is an antiplatelet agent and will not let the blood clot. Okay, antiplatelet drug will not let the blood clot. It functions on the second pathway of clot formation. First pathway is vascular spasm, which you have learned. Okay, vascular spasm. Then number two is the platelet plug formation. These are the steps of clotting. Number three is the clotting factor, okay, which are produced by the liver. Okay, number three are the clotting factors which are produced by the liver. Okay, clotting factors coming from, starting from factor 12, they culminate onto factor 10. Okay, the Stewart-Brewer factor. Factor number 12 is the Hedgeman factor, and then you have intrinsic and extrinsic pathway. Okay, and all will converge to produce then fibrin. Okay, extrinsic pathway. It will act here on the platelet plug. It will not let platelet stick and will give you ample amount of time to reach hospital. Along with that, if you know he has been a hypertensive patient, so administer the antihypertensive or BP drug to him one more time. Even if he has taken it, administer it to him one more time. Tell me certain, almost certain, whatever he has been taking, administer it to him one more time along with this drug, aspirin, and take him as soon as possible to the hospital. Okay, so that will definitely prevent stroke from occurring, and then the doctors will take care of him, okay, by checking his entire vital signs, and he will be safe. He will not have to or you can say undergo or suffer through stroke. Okay, so this is the trick that you should know. Vertigo, good question. Okay. So vertigo is there. There is something known as dizziness. Both are interrelated, okay? So vertigo, dizziness all happen mostly due to either excessive hypertension or hypotension. Either of these two things, okay? Either excessive hypertension or hypotension, okay? And one more thing is if you have some problem in the ear infection, then there is something known as vestibular system. Vestibular system comprises of the ear mainly, the cochlear fluid, okay, that balances you. If you have some kind of infection, some kind of ear problem, then the vestibular system will be completely awry, right? So that will also lead to vertigo. There is a specific vestibular nuclei, means the neuronal cell body cluster inside the CNS, okay, which directly take input from the vestibular system. So the first vestibular system is the ear. Second vestibular system is the eye. Even if you close your eyes, you will see little bit of balance going off. Eyes are one of the best balancers again. After ear, third are the joints. Okay, joints have something known as proprioceptor. Proprioceptors, specific neurons that always 24/7 they check the movement of the joint. That is why when you tend to fall like this, automatically or suppose your left knee buckled, your right knee will automatically try to compensate again due to the vestibular system and the proprioceptor neurons, which are the sensory neurons present, and they are the ones which are monitoring the movement of the joints. Okay. So all these factors combined, you can have vertigo or you can have brain infection, or after stroke, if you have had stroke, some regions of the brain may be damaged of the vestibular system, that will cause constant vertigo. Okay, so these are the various reasons why you can have or suffer from vertigo, Gayatri. Okay, is it clear? I hope it's clear now the answer. Okay. So now we can go on to the other, you can say, organs. Okay, so number one is, let's talk about the medulla oblongata. Okay, brain stem's most important organ, medulla oblongata, one of the most important organs, medulla oblongata. What does the medulla do? Okay, first of all, it is one of the best reflex centers. Okay, it contains both gray and white matter. Okay, contains multiple nuclei for multiple functions. I'll tell you a concept regarding the brain. There are various nuclei, okay, various types of nuclei I'll be telling you. Okay, so don't need to remember the name but know the concept. There will be various types of nuclei in the brain. Just like I told you, vestibular nuclei, it will take care of the balance. So there are other types of nuclei in the brain. Okay, you will be having optic one, olfactory one. Okay, all different types of nuclei will be there, which will be taking care of then cardiovascular nuclei. Okay, so taking care of the cardiovascular system. Okay, the heartbeat, the autorhythmicity region, all these things will be present, which will be taking care of the respiratory rate, respiratory nuclei. So these things will be present. So different neuronal cell bodies, suppose 10 million there, 5 million there, 10,000 there, like that, various clusters are present throughout the brain, and each cluster is completely dedicated to controlling one function of one organ of the body. So like this, we have multiple nuclei, types of nuclei distributed in the human brain. Okay, and also depending on the types of neurons, is not only one type of neuron. There have been, the discovery have been, or the discovery has been, there are more than 200 types of neurons present in the human brain. Okay, there are 200 types of neurons, more than 200 types. Still I'm saying less. So more than 200 types and still being counted. Okay, nowadays the many research projects are happening in USA. One is the human brain project. Okay, one is the entire atlas of the human brain is being developed where different types of neurons are being checked and being reported. So our brain is a very complex entity. Okay, so you should be aware of these two concepts at least, that all neurons are not the same. There are more than 200 types of neurons. Okay, the 200 types of neurons are not there in your course, so only know till this much. And various clusters of neuronal cell bodies or cyton, they form various types of nuclei, and that each nucleus, okay, will be responsible for one entire organ's one function. So that is why the brain consists of multiple nuclei, okay, by known by multiple names. So know this concept properly. Okay, now coming on to the medulla oblongata, the reflex center. Okay, so it extends through the central core of the medulla oblongata, okay, into the diencephalon. So diencephalon and medulla oblongata are completely connected. Okay, and what it does is it controls various autonomic processes like breathing rate, blood pressure control, okay, also thermoregulation, various endocrine functions, okay, so many functions it has, breathing rate, okay, blood pressure control. Then you can say it can have thermoregulation, then endocrine function, hormonal, that is thermoregulation, then endocrine function. So many are there. Okay. Then body posture. Then skeletal-muscular means this is my skeletal muscle. What is my reflex? That is musculoskeletal or skeletal-muscular reflex. Okay, body posture. Then alertness. Then when do we want to go to sleep? Okay, all those things will be checked by, you can say, medulla oblongata. So in medulla oblongata, there are two major nuclei that are asked in NEET examination that I'll tell you. One is the cardiovascular center, okay. One is the respiratory rhythmicity center. These are the two main centers or two major group of reflex centers present in the medulla oblongata. So you can note it down. Number one is, you can say, cardiovascular center. The cardiovascular center, what will it do? It will adjust the heart rate, okay? The strength of the cardiac contraction means how hard the heart is pumping, what is the after load, okay? How much is the preload, the stretch, and then the strength of the heart contraction in medical term is known as inotropy of the heart, means how hard or how forcefully your heart is contracting, the ventricular contraction that I'm talking about, okay? That is known as the stroke volume. If you have learned the heart, I had taught you in the, you can say, NEET class. Gayatri, you were not there, I think. In the NEET class, I had taught them the entire cardiac cycle which comes in NEET examination. That what is cardiac output? That is systolic volume into heart rate. How do we get cardiac output? How much is the cardiac output? That is 70 ml. Okay, from one ventricle. So that is known as heart rate, the strength of the heart rate. Okay. Then strength of the heart rate. Strength of the heart rate in medical term you can write in bracket. It is known as inotropic effect. Okay. Then you have something known as, you can say, flow of blood through the peripheral tissues means arteries. Okay, flow of blood through the peripheral tissues. Peripheral tissues. So that can be one more stuff, right? And the respiratory rhythmicity center. Okay, second one will be your respiratory rhythmicity center. Respiratory rhythmicity center. Now, what does this do? This sets the basic pace for respiratory movement. Okay, the entire respiratory rate, you can say, and acts along with pons also. The pons also contain two regions. I don't think I've studied respiratory tract till now. So respiratory rate along with pons. Okay. So have you read the respiratory chapter? Have you studied that? Respiratory unit, breathing of gases and breathing and exchange, pulmonology. Have you read that chapter? Have you been taught that chapter? If you have been taught the chapter, then you will be able to relate that. Okay, till now you haven't been taught. Fine. So when I'll teach you that chapter, I'll teach you that how is respiration controlled via medulla oblongata. So pons, there is a region in the brain known as pons also, which I have already told you. So pons, they control the rate of respiration. Also, along with medullary, or you can say respiratory or medullary respiratory center, okay, or the respiratory center present in the medulla oblongata. So not only pons are there, not only medulla is there, but pons also. The message here is pons also help in control of the entire breathing rate. Okay, okay. In school you have done it. Okay, so do you know about the ventral respiratory group and the dorsal respiratory group, DRG and VRG? Gayatri, are you aware of these two terms? Ventral respiratory group and dorsal respiratory group. These are the two main questions in NEET examination. DRG and VRG. This is known as inspiratory region. This is known as expiratory region. So have you heard of this, Gayatri? DRG and VRG? Have you been taught this thing? Because I don't think in school level they'll go to NEET level, or at school they'll be teaching at NEET level. Or rate of inspiration, expiration, how is it changing? Has that been taught, that how is it controlled? Suppose you cease to breathe, you don't breathe for 2 minutes or 1 minute, depending on your strength, then why do we breathe again? Why do we start breathing again? What is the regulation of that? So that these things are very, very important. So that I'll teach in detail in the respiratory chapter. Okay. So next thing regarding the medullary oblongata is, okay, they are very, very special organs when it comes to, you can say, control of the cranial nerves also, because the nerves which come out or which emanate from the brain are known as the cranial nerve, and which emanate from the spine are known as the spinal nerve. Okay, so they control that also. One more thing is, they are great relay centers. Okay, it relays the information between the sensory and motor pathways, okay. There are multiple nuclei. One is known as the gracile nucleus and cuneate, or you can say cuneate nucleus, but they are not in your course. I'll not go into that. Okay, only the function I'm telling. They are great relay centers also, the medulla oblongata. Okay, great relay center. Okay, and one more thing is, while relaying, okay, so what they do is, they also contain a lot of other centers. Okay, you vomit, okay, that is known as the emetic reflex. You might have heard of it, vomiting. Okay, so vomiting is known as emetic reflex in medical physiology, or in you can say the words of doctors, words of medicine, it is emetic reflex. So vomiting, then coughing, then you're sneezing, okay, sense of temperature, touch. If all these are controlled by medulla oblongata, then hiccuping also, okay, hiccuping also, they are controlled by medulla oblongata, okay, yeah. So that part I know, Gayatri, it is not taught in school, okay, because they don't go to the NEET level. Okay, that's why NEET style studying and only school style studying is different. School style is very very easy. Just get full marks, mug it up, vomit like that I was telling you. The emetic reflex that you do, you will get full marks. But the thing is, when you start solving NEET, ask these fellows, Samesh and Pratham, when the chapter which was taught already, excretory system, when I put the previous year NEET question in front of them, they were not able to solve one single question. Because it is not their fault, it is like they were not taught at that level only. And the aim is to crack the examination. Okay, so that is why you should be learning everything from the concept. If they had been taught the concept, they could have easily solved those questions. And now, when I have taught them the concept, now they can entirely solve its the you can say urinary chapter questions at one go. Now they can solve. Now I have that much confidence that any question if I throw at them regarding the urinary system, if I ask them just to revise what I have taught, they can easily solve. Okay, so that is the difference between NEET and that is the difference between only you can say school level learning. Okay, that's the main difference. Okay, so any doubt regarding the you can say medulla oblongata? Anyone? Medulla oblongata? Any doubt? Now some 5 minutes are remaining. Now you can ask me any of your questions, right? Any of your questions now you can ask me if you want to ask any kind of questions regarding your family or somebody taking some antidepressants or any question, Pratham, any question if you have regarding the brain or anything regarding neurology or any kind of fictional things that you have come across that you might think could be true, that you can ask. Gayatri, Samesh, you can ask anything regarding the brain. Doesn't have to be, you can say, strictly regarding what I taught today. Anything regarding the brain you can ask. Because I'm not expecting you to study for the next few days because it's Diwali, so enjoy your Diwali properly. So start studying again from Monday onwards. 2 days enjoy properly. Any questions regarding anything appropriate or anything neurological? Like Gayatri had asked about vertigo. Any other questions do you have in your mind? Why can't we feel our legs? Yeah. If we sit still for few hours, yeah, that is a good question. The thing is, if you sit still, something you get is numbness. Okay. Deadpool possible? No, no, not at all. Not at all. That is too much. That is too much. Yeah, there are classes on Monday, Gayatri. There are classes. Only one day is the leave day. That is tomorrow. Saturday is the leave in. You might have received a timetable, right? Only one day. There will be classes on Monday onwards. Okay. So no issues if you cannot attend. You can look at the recording and then you can ask me in the Zoom class. Okay. Ask anything. I'll just clarify your doubt. Okay. So the thing is, we when we sit idle, sometimes the blood circulation drops a lot, and especially if you have kept weight. Suppose you have kept weight like that on the top of your thighs or legs, so that time the blood circulation stops for a minute, or it becomes very very regressed, very less. Because of that, what happens? The nerves they get again you can say inflamed for a while and that causes numbness. Okay, then you will be having difficult time in feeling your legs, and then when you will start feeling your legs you will feel tingling effect. That is again nerve inflammation. nerve irritation. Okay, then nerve pain, that is known as neuralgia, pain related to nerve. Those are all nerve issues. That is why when you go to a doctor, if you have any nerve issues, suppose you are touching here, you are feeling a, you can say, sensation of burning, tingling, okay, or if you have lesser strength in the arm, not because of losing or you can say wearing off of muscle, the suppose the bicep size is same, but still you are having less strength in your arm. That means that you are having some or the other kind of neurological issues of nerve related damage or nerve inflammation, which can be reversed with vitamin B12 or methylcobalamin tablets if it has been a long run, exercise, okay, alpha lipoic acid, okay, so these things can be given. But again, there is no sure sort nerve regenerative medicine. In case of brain damage, there is a specific medicine known as citicoline. Okay, that is directly a derivative of phosphatidylcholine that can help to renew the plasma membrane of the neurons. So these medicines have been there, but not much is known after that. Okay, this is the maximum which is known in research. Okay then. Okay, so wish you all a very, very happy and prosperous Diwali. Enjoy your time. Okay, and let's meet on Monday directly and continue our session. Meanwhile, if you have any doubt, you can directly contact me on my WhatsApp number. Okay. Okay, thanks a lot. Let's see you on Monday after Diwali. Okay, thank you, Gayatri. Okay, Samay, thank you.